And now it's time for another edition of What Would Jello Do? Yeah, you can't deny, as sick as it is, the entertainment value of the Don, as he should now be called, and his Trumpkins wreaking havoc and all the supposed chaos in the White House, kind of like Survivor, kind of like Bachelorette, whatever, kind of like a reality show. And yes, I admit, every day, even when I was visiting my mom, oh, my mom, I'm up now. What did he do today? And then the belly laughs and horror begins. But psycho tweets or cover up? I think Tom Tomorrow hit on something when he's portraying him as a half-crazed, what he calls man baby. But is he already really crazy like a fox? Is this really all by design, where the psycho tweets are carefully crafted, possibly by Bannon or one of the others, to come out right when they want to paper over something the regime absolutely doesn't want us to see? Oh, James Comey fired, on with the reality show. Comey implicates him in the same kind of quote as Nixon's, "I want you to stonewall it," which was on the tape and got him run out of DC on a rail. He betrays Israel to the Russians. No, on with the reality show. All scandal all the time. Have one ready, fire. Okay, we got this one ready, we need it now. Fire. So many other horrible things are going on behind the scenes, it's hard to keep track of it all, and that is deliberate. I mean, people kind of perked up when they realized that throwing egg on Obama's face and abolishing Obamacare wasn't necessarily good for people. If you like Trumpcare, you'll love Ryancare. What they're trying to ram through, and may still ram through, there finally really are Sarah Palin's death panels, only they're called insurance companies. Yeah, and he's still running all his businesses behind the scenes, backed off on saying there's two Chinas and patting Taiwan on the head as soon as China approved 38 trademark applications for the Trump organization. What are they trying to sell in China? And he still won't release his tax returns, and this kind of creeps me out that neither will WikiLeaks and neither will Anonymous. What is up with that? As well as he denies, I don't know anybody in Russia, I don't know Putin, I don't do any businesses with Russians. Of course, his kids do now. One of which even bragged to a golf magazine of all things, we don't need American banks to loan us money. We get it all from the Russians. That's my quote, not his, but that's basically what he said. And if you like Trump being up to his neck, not with Putin personally, but worse, Putin's friends, you'll love his daughter and her husband, the Kushners, who are up that high in business with China. And several have business with the infamous Bank of Cyprus, which is mainly known as one of the world's largest money laundering banks for Russian oligarchs and the Russian mob. And it's not just Paul Manafort who's mixed up with Cyprus banks. Apparently the second biggest stakeholder in the Bank of Cyprus either is or just was Trump's Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross. Meanwhile, as people are freaking out over Trump's latest psycho tweet and the reality show goes on, internet neutrality out the window. Internet privacy taken away too. Now Google and the rest can sell your private info, including what you beat off to anybody they want and not even tell you. Jeff Sessions, the last Southern segregationist at the schoolhouse door, reviving and amping up the drug war, getting ready to stomp out weed, or at the very least, call for federal prosecutors to prosecute people for the heaviest charge they can in order to refill the private prison system that Obama was trying to pull away from. And then, of course, we have the big, beautiful wall. Not happening. Clown Prince W. Bush tried to build a big, beautiful wall in 2006, and it's only still up in little spurts because of all the disputes with hundreds of landowners who own the riverfront property on the Rio Grande in Texas alone. Okay, Donald, this one's easy. A spinal tap wall. just a little one down there, and then declare victory. Because otherwise, building up a real wall, it's not just going to gut our farm workers and the entire restaurant service industry, not to mention yard help and nannies, doctors too. Right now, there are 3,500 doctors in this country from Syria, 9,000 from Iran, and a lot of them practice in rural areas where America's doctors won't go, and otherwise those people don't even get doctors. How many foreign students are there in this country? Estimate 1 million. Most of them paying full tuition, including 12,000 of them from Iran. Yeah, I mean, like so many other so-called gated communities or non-communities, the other problem is we lock them out. We have locked ourselves in. And as Chris Rock put once, women hate women. No, not as much as the Trumpkins hate women. Whatever happened to Planned Parenthood? Ooh, we'd rather follow the reality show. What does destroying Planned Parenthood really mean when only about 3% of what they do is terminate pregnancies and the rest is screening poor women for cancer and other illnesses and getting them help before they all wind up burning up our money in emergency rooms? Or no screening? Can't pay? Well, please, die. These are the real death panels. Another $9 billion yanked, meanwhile, from World Health Organizations. If any of these NGOs anywhere in the world not just mention abortion, but even mention birth control. Considering how many wars are started by people without water or food or territory or overpopulation, this is kind of a war crime, is it not? Really sick version of eugenics. They hate kids. Now they're even trying to gut the new rules to make school lunches more nutritious. Remember when Reagan's people said that ketchup should be considered a vegetable? We're back to that again at a time where a lot of kids are showing up to school unfed completely, and the free breakfast and or free lunch is the only decent meal or meal at all they're going to get all day. And one of the worst cabinet people, Betsy DeVos, the Secretary Against Education, who wants vouchers for everything, gut public schools, so everybody gets these little vouchers they can give them to private or religious schools. The vouchers are not enough to cover most of the top schools' tuitions, not even close. It's just a discount to the rich, while DeVos has said repeatedly her main mission is to get people more into religious schools to bring children closer to God. I mean, this is the areas where behind all the fake news and fake reality shows they create, the Trump administration isn't chaotic at all. They are not failing, they are succeeding. They are succeeding in continuing to amp up hate crimes, bigotry, more and more Trumpkins drunk on strutting their inner asshole, including the police shooting people. Yeah, we can get away with it now. Who's going to stop us now? Jeff Sessions? The Justice Department? Legislative hate crimes too. I mean, the same kind of thing where they say vote fraud must be immigrants voting instead of George W. Bush stealing 2 elections and Trump stealing 1 with the interstate cross-check program. Kind of like saying they aren't neo-Nazis anymore, they're alt-right. Now we have religious liberty. Somehow, if you have to treat LGBTQ or transgender or people of color with any kind of respect or human dignity, it violates your religious belief. It violates your liberty. No, that's a whole screen for fundamentalist Christian supremacists stomping out everybody else's religious liberty, including a bill in the state legislature saying that gay people can't adopt children, nor can Jews. Hasn't passed yet, but that's what people think they can get away with now. More legislative hate crimes. In the midst of all the craziness with Comey, the Trump regime announces they have a new Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity. Mike Pence, and guess who the other one is? Chris Kobach, Secretary of State of Kansas, who concocted the cross-check program that disenfranchised so many people that Trump stole the election and a bunch of Tea Party crackpots stole Senate seats in swing states. Apparently, what they want to do is make cross-check nationwide now and in everybody's face. In other words, this isn't about Trump and the reality show bitching and moaning that Hillary got the popular vote and somehow that was wrong. This is about making sure that no matter how enraged and horrified people are by the 2018 election, Congress will remain in the hands of corporate Trump sucklers, no matter how many people vote for somebody else. That's what a national cross-check is for. And what a fine budget, too. So fucked up. How do you fight it all? $54 billion that the military has already basically said they don't even need. That kind of pissing away money is what crashed the Soviet Union, people. Reagan didn't win the Cold War. They and their own military-industrial complex lost it. Slashing money at the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, nothing for National Endowment for the Arts. You know, we love pop stars, we hate artists, that's official policy. Nothing for National Endowment for Humanities, nothing for Amtrak, even though he said he was going to build up our infrastructure and have really good jobs, believe me. All for cutting, and even gutting the State Department, whose mission it is to prevent war while building up the Defense Department. What does this say? All in the name of cutting corporation and rich people's, billionaires like Trump's, taxes by over half, which is guaranteed to send deficits way through the ceiling and crash the economy in a way that makes 2008 just look like an inept rehearsal. But the most widespread damage of all is their hell-bent campaign to systematically destroy the earth. For what? Jesus? Even more, money. Hey, we're all gonna be dead when everybody starts dropping like flies and Miami Beach is underwater. What do we care? Let's have the last big gulp. Too much heat if they just pull out of the Paris Climate Treaty, so instead the strategy is just to gut it by 1,000 cuts, make it impossible to comply. EPA budget slashed by 31%, a quarter of the people work there, you're fired. Money to study climate change cut to zero. Fuel efficiency standards gone. Carbon pollution limits from power plants and coal plants gone. Anti-pollution laws for the same plants dumping stuff into the water we drink gone. Hog wild with new leases to dig up coal on public lands. Hell yeah. Not to sell here, of course, but to sell to China. Just like all the fracked oil and everything else, even though China is desperately trying to cut down on coal, choking so many people before Chinese people start rioting even more than they already have. Whatever, sell it to India. We gotta poison somebody. Dakota Access Pipeline, the one people stood up at Standing Rock to put a stop to, already leaking. Drill baby drill now, Arctic National Wildlife Refuge at last. Up and down the Atlantic coast too. And in the Gulf of Mexico, all the rules put in to prevent Deepwater Horizon explosions from happening again, gone. Mountaintop removal, where they blow up whole mountains to get in the coal and fill in a valley where there's streams or people living there, that's okay again too. And they're even saying they're going to review 27 national monuments to see if they could stop making them national monuments so they can be blown up and mined and whatever else. Not just the new beautiful one in Utah called Bears Ears, they even want to get rid of the giant Sequoia National Monument so they can chop down some of the oldest, largest, beautiful trees in the world and make them into picnic tables or something. Craters of the Moon National Monument in Idaho, they want that one gone, and it was established one of the first ones, 1924. And they want to get rid of tons of vast underwater national monuments in the South Seas because they want almost all of this for mining. Yeah, it's kind of his art of the deal strategy he laid out, where you make huge demands and scare the living daylights out of people and be ready to settle for less, but what's less is really what you want. Remember Reagan's secretary, James Watt, who said he wanted to sell national parks, and people said after he wanted to strip mine and drill, baby drill, and everything else, what about our children? Well, by then you will have seen the second coming of the Lord. That's Rick Perry. That may be more people. It may even be Pence. Somebody needs to ask Trump if he believes in the end times, and then take a look at how he's playing around with North Korea and won't even send Dennis Rodman over to settle things. A lot of this hasn't all gone down yet because people are catching on. They suddenly realize they ain't going to be able to see a doctor anymore. They get mad. They feel they're entitled to health care. Entitlements aren't bad. They realize it's a human right. The more that goes on, Russia, the Russians are coming, the Russians are coming. Well, no, obviously they're already here. Who is wagging who when even the head of the Senate House Intelligence Committee, who's supposed to be investigating this, is scrambling to protect the Don, which raises a bigger question. Why did Paul Ryan, the speaker, put Devin Nunes in as head of the Intel Committee when he'd only been in Congress a short time? He was from a farm area, no military and no intelligence experience or understanding whatsoever. Why was that guy put in charge? I mean, Russia, Jeff Sessions wouldn't have lied unless he thought he had something to hide. And 2 days later, another scandal, more psycho tweets, and Sessions keeps his job instead of joining all the people of color he hates in one of his own private prisons. James Comey, the FBI guy, asked for more money for a Russian investigation. You're fired. Hey, wait a minute. I blow up Hillary for you and tip the election, and this is the thanks I get? And then even right before I cut this one, the word comes out that Trump told him exactly what Nixon said on the tape that got him thrown out. Stop investigating Michael Flynn. I want you to stonewall it. Same deal. Hey kids, can you say impeachment? Well, to quote an infamous geometry teacher that appears on a couple of my spoken word albums, wait, maybe so, probably not. Oh well. And that's kind of where they're going to go with that when one of the great heartbreaks of my life, watching Nixon get run out for the crook that he was and the danger to this country that he was. And then within a few years, both parties, any office big and small you care to name, bunch of Richard Nixons. Why else did they just let Reagan and the first George Bush and even a couple of his sons and the rest off the hook for Contragate? That was one of the worst heartbreaks in my life. That didn't involve a bunch of murders and terrorism, government dope dealing, and the crack epidemic. Just ask Representative Maxine Waters. Another reason you're not going to get impeachment is that the Republicans control both houses as well as the White House. And they may not like Trump. I bet you could count on one hand how many people actually like the guy. But so much money that went into building them is riding on this once-in-a-lifetime chance for corporations billionaires to truly seize power, not just take us back to the 1950s, but the 1850s. A lifetime chance as never before to wreck and steal everything, with the reality show as the curtain around the great and powerful Oz. They want to strip mine the ocean. They want to chop down the sequoias. They want to gut the whole Dodd-Frank Act so they can spend our money on casinos and Wall Street and crash the economy again. And besides, Trump really does get impeached. Watching how he melts down will be great fun, but then we get President Mike Pence.